to my channel. First, I want to say thank you guys so much for those that watched my previous video, which was my home tour. Last time I checked, it was at 6,000 views, and I am so shocked and so grateful. So thank you to those that have watched it. And also thanks to those new subscribers. I got an additional 30 subscribers just from that video alone. So now I know to put up more of that kind of content, since that's what you guys tend to like. So I will be doing that. But today is going to be more of a sit down with me. I'm going to tell you guys about my breast reduction journey. It was, when did I have my breast? It was August of 2012. It was something that I was thinking about doing for a very long time, for years actually. I always heard about women getting their breasts enhanced. I hadn't really heard about women getting them reduced. I didn't know that that was a thing. I did some research, and I had a friend who also felt like her breasts were too big for her and she was considering it. So that's also how I knew that that was a thing, that you can, you know, get that procedure done. So at the time, I wasn't even 21 yet. I was still very much a baby. I was only, I think I was 18 when I got the procedure done, 18 or 19 years old. The first thing that I did was go to my primary doctor at the time, and I kind of went in for an opinion. What I was experiencing was, I was very petite. And when I say petite, I don't mean like short, I mean petite in the sense of like, I was always very slim. And my breasts developed pretty quickly soon after I began my menstrual cycle. And for the first year or two, I was wearing still little girl bras, meaning that they didn't have like a wire to like hold them in place. So what started happening to me was, and I don't know if this is actually, you know, legitimately the reason why I experienced this, but what ended up happening was that by the time I started wearing bras, my breasts were always like almost down to my belly button. Like the sag was real. And my breasts looked great. It looked full when I had a bra on. But once I would pop that bad boy off, you would just see it just drop as if I've had 5 kids already. And I have none, and I was really young. Another thing that I was experiencing was my posture. Even now, after the breast reduction, I still have somewhat of a bad posture, but it has improved since. So I was experiencing, I always wanted to just sit like this and like slouch, and it was because my breasts were so heavy. I would also experience back pain. I would experience it on my upper back and also going down my spine. And on the back of my neck, I started noticing that I was somewhat getting a hump. That I thought it was because of my bad posture. So I went and scheduled an appointment with my primary doctor, and I think he was a little kind of clueless as to the procedure itself, and he seemed confused as to why I wanted to get the procedure done. At the time, I weighed about 130 pounds. I was probably 5'2", and I was a size in Victoria's Secret. I was a double D. I was a 34 back and a double D cup. So I was 34 double D. So keep in mind, Victoria's Secret bra size are very different from like Macy bras, Calvin's, and stuff like that. Like their bra size are specific to the brand. I used to work there, so I was wearing Victoria's Secret bras. Again, I was very slim, so that is not, you know, a lot of women might be like, oh girl, you're fine. But at the time, it was a lot for my body, for my figure. He basically just asked me to like bend over, and he ran 2 fingers down my spine, and he was just like, okay, like what are you experiencing? And I told him like my symptoms, and then he's like, okay, I guess I'll write you a referral to a specialist that can look into, see if this is something that you need. So I was like, okay, great. So he scheduled the appointment. I live in New York City, so my appointment was in Mount Sinai Hospital, the one on 96th Street. And when I went in, the doctor that saw me said he was gonna take some pictures in different angles. The moment I removed my bra, he just nodded and was like, yeah, you're having major saggage, I guess, like my breasts were sagging a lot for someone my age, and especially someone that hasn't had kids, and he can see how like it was weighing me down. So then he like started marking me up and showing me like what it would look like, and he explained how the procedure would be. So there's two types of procedures when you're getting a breast reduction, meaning two types of incisions. One incision is called the lollipop, which is where they cut around the areola or the nipple, and then they cut straight down to where like your rib bone is. And then the second procedure is the lollipop with a smiley face. So same thing, they cut around the areola, then they go down, and then right underneath the boob they cut like a U shape, which is like the smiley face. For me, he did the lollipop on both breasts. They basically remove your nipple, and I guess they release or get rid of some of the fat from in there. They reduced it, and then they put the areola. He did mention that the areola itself, being that I had large breasts, my areola was large, so they were gonna resize it. So they did make it smaller and then placed it back and stitched it back up. And aside from the stitching, they did also put glue. After that consultation, I was feeling great. I did go with my mom. My mom was very supportive of me doing it. She saw firsthand how I was very self-conscious about my body because of my breast. I was just going through a lot. It was just, emotionally and mentally, it was a lot for me. And then physically, it was definitely a lot for me. After my consultation, they sent over everything to my insurance. At the time, I was under my dad's insurance. And the insurance gave the okay to proceed based on what the doctor had said. They would only cover it depending on how much they removed, how much weight they removed from my breasts. And this is because depending on the weight, that's how they're able to determine if it was a necessary procedure or if it was a cosmetic procedure. When I got the call that they were ready to schedule me in for my surgery, I had no doubt in my mind that this is something that I wanted to do. So I did, they did tell me that the recovery time would be about 2 weeks, that I shouldn't need more than 2 weeks to recover. I took off 3 weeks from work because I wanted to make sure I was 100% before I went to work, being that my job at the time I worked in retail. If any one of you guys have worked retail, you're kind of going back and forth, helping customers, bending down, picking things up, folding. So it was a lot of labor. So I wanted to make sure I was 100%. So the day of my surgery, I have never had any major surgery in my life. So it was very scary. I had to sign so many paperwork. They got me ready. They had me stripped down. I had the little shower cap thing going on, the little bata, the blue thing that they give you to put on. I was completely nude under it. I did have at the time my belly pierced. And I believe I had the surface. So I had 2 piercings on my stomach. I had the regular belly piercing that's on the belly button, and then right underneath my belly button I had one that it goes this way, like vertically under the belly button. The one underneath my belly button was really hard to remove, so I didn't remove it. They did ask that I remove any body piercings. So I removed the original belly ring, but I did not remove the surface, because if you've had that piercing, They told me that they were going to put me under anesthesia, and they needed me to sign off some documents for that. At first, I was wide awake. I was so nervous. I was like, okay, I need this to kick in. Put me to sleep right now. But it wasn't kicking in right away. So I walked into the room where they were gonna do the procedures. So I lay on this bed and I'm just looking up, and there's just a clock, and I'm just staring at this clock, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna close my eyes and I'm just gonna pray that I just pass out right here. And the moment I closed my eyes, it was like out. The next thing I remember, I hear them saying, okay, like, we're lowering the dose, she should be waking up now. And they're like, okay, Anna, how you feeling? And I'm a very jumpy person, especially when I'm sleeping. So even though I wasn't sleeping, I was under anesthesia. So the moment I was able to make out voices, I like jumped up, and they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, looking around like, oh yeah, I just had surgery. So they're like, you know, you might feel a little sore. We're gonna take you to the recovery area. Everything looks great. Oh, prior to that, prior to any of the surgery stuff, the doctor had asked me if I had a preference of it being too big or too small. And I like that he asked me that, because I was afraid that because I was going in for the procedure that they were gonna take off way too much weight and I was gonna be left like flat chested. I didn't want that. He did explain that they don't just remove the weight, they remove the weight and give you a lift. So which is great, because again, they used to sag a lot. And I also, aside from wanting to have like push-up bras and be able to say, yeah, I wear push-ups, I also wanted to know what it was like to wear a shirt with no bra on. I couldn't do that because, you know, my breasts would sag so much, and I was so jealous of these girls that could do it, that they could just walk around and not have a bra on. And like, I was like, oh, goals, like I want to be able to just do that, but I couldn't. So I knew I wanted to go down a significant amount, but not too much where I have no breast. Originally they would bring me down 2 sizes, so I asked that if they can make me a C or a full B. There's a difference. You could be a B and not be a full B. So he said, yeah, that he would recommend me to stay more on the bigger side, because worst case scenario, they can always go back and reduce some more. So yeah, after they took me to the recovery room, my mom was there and my grandma was there. Apparently I went in for surgery at 7 and I came out at like 4 in the afternoon, so hours. And when I woke up, I had the surgical bra, which was just a white bra. So there were tubes coming out from inside, like I guess from my skin, coming out underneath the surgical bra, and the tubes attached to this drain that they had like pinned onto the bra, so that all the fluid could go into that tube. And they told me that I would have to drain it at home, and while I was there they would measure it to make sure that the right amount of fluid was coming out, because that's, I guess, how they checked if I was having any infection or if I was bleeding too much. They would be able to see based on what's coming out of me. So they would measure it before they drain it, and they told me I'd have to do the same at home and kind of keep track of what the measurement was, because if it was too much, then I would have to go back, because then something's wrong. So after I was there for recovery, I just remember being extremely hungry. So I got in a cab to go home. The cab drive was terrible. So they did prescribe me some Percocets, which are really strong medication for pain. And they had gave me some Percocets while I was in the recovery area, but by the time I was heading home, it had already weared off. So when I was on that cab drive, the movement of the road was making my breasts bounce, and that was causing me so much pain. I started crying. I didn't realize how much my breasts and this area has to do with my upper body. I couldn't even pick up a spoon to feed myself. I couldn't pick up a cup. I was fortunate enough to have a huge support system. My friend at the time, Maria, she came over, she had cooked for me, she was feeding me, she even showered me. My mom, my grandma, my aunt, my partner at the time, they were all very supportive and were really there for me. So I'm really grateful for that. It's really important to have a good support system, especially when going through any major surgery. Honestly, within a week and a half, I was already feeling myself. I was already able to like move around a little better. At first, I was moving really slow. Like to get to the bathroom, it was a challenge. Right after the surgery, I was a D cup, a full D cup, because I was very swollen. So I went from a double D to a full D. They did tell me that to wear bras without a wire on the bottom for at least 6 months, just because of the incisions. And they did tell me that right after my first appointment, which is when they will remove the surgical bra, and I was going to be able to see, because I had no idea what that looked like for, I think, about a week. They told me that I'll have the glue. They were going to remove the stitches, and that I'll still have the glue, and to try my best not to pick at it, that it'll just come off on its own. I don't like having any kind of like any skin peeling or like scabs or anything. So as much as I tried not to pick at it, I have to admit some of the glue that I felt like was already like lifting but was still attached by a little bit, I'll just completely like, I'm like, oh, you're basically already off, so I'll peel it off. Don't do that because it does alter the way it's gonna heal. They said that everything looked great, it was perfect. He said it was just as he, you know, wanted it to look, so I was happy with what he was telling me. So fast forwarding to years later, it's now 2020, so it's been 8 years since I've had this procedure done. So how I feel about it now, I've gained weight obviously since then, so my breasts are back to a double D, but the good thing about it is that they're not sagging really low. So if I remove my bra, they'll sit exactly where it is now, whether I have a bra or not. And even though they're double D, I don't feel the extra weight. Like, it feels proportionate to my body. So if I was to lose the weight, then my breasts do get smaller. Had I not gotten the procedure done and gained this weight, I probably would have been a size F by now. The other good part, I can wear push-ups if I want to. I still choose not to. I don't know why I wanted to try it so bad. I guess, you know, it's just one of those things that I never did, and I was like, I'd like to try it. So I did go out and purchase myself my first push-up bra and wore it like once. I still don't have to wear push-up. I'm not wearing a push-up now. I don't need to. Another upside, I can wear shirts without a bra on. For some reason, I still just choose to wear a bra. It does give me that extra lift. I don't have to. Even now that I've gained weight and they are bigger, I don't have to wear a bra if I don't want to. Now the downsides, 8 years later. The downsides that I experienced immediately after was I did lose some sensation on my breast. So they do tell you off the jump that that is a possibility, and that is something you have to consider. For me, the idea of losing sensation on my breast was terrible, but the pain that I was experiencing and how self-conscious I was about my body was worse for me. So I said, the heck with it, it's a possibility, so you know, there's a chance that that won't happen to me. But it did. So it's a bummer. I do have moments where feelings come in and out, so there'll be times where they'll be extremely sensitive, that even if someone like brushes by, like I'll feel it intensely. But that's very rare, but 99.9% of the time I don't have much sensation. It's not that I don't feel anything at all. I do feel, but I don't have sensation, if that makes sense. Another downfall is I didn't know this right away, but I was botched. Right underneath where my rib area is, it almost looks like they scooped me in. So it looks like somebody just took a spoon and like took a chunk, like just went like this and took a chunk of my skin off. So it's like a dent right underneath my boob, and I don't know why that is. That it's right where they had the tubes coming out. One of my breasts has that dent, the other one does not. And where I have that dent, there are times where I get really bad pain right underneath my breasts, and I don't know what it is. I haven't gotten it checked out. I have done my Google research, and what it says is that the nerve, some of my nerves there might have been like pressed up now against my rib, and that's what's causing me occasional pain. It's pretty terrible. So I don't want to discourage anyone from doing the procedure. I've, you know, told a coworker about my experience, and she did it and it came out totally fine for her. She, you know, she didn't get botched, and she still has sensation from what she tells me. So it's different for everyone. Just do your research, I guess, of where you're gonna go. But that's just been my experience. Even now, 8 years later, right underneath my breast, I get really terrible pain, which I should and will get it checked out soon. But that's pretty much it, guys. That pretty much was my experience. If you guys have any questions, it did happen long ago, and even though it's just 8 years ago, I don't remember anything much about it, just basically what I shared. But definitely, if you guys have any questions or you feel like maybe I didn't cover something, ask me, and if I remember, I'll definitely answer. And I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you for watching this video.